I mean, okay, let's just use examples of clubs making terrible decisions. Juventus,
haven't failed,
but
terrible decisions didn't fail.
that have affected the club
Didn't
very
fail.
negatively. But even look at
didn't fail. I can name two.
Look at other
Two, and that's thousands of clubs all over the world.
LAFC's Chicho Arango is now going to Pachuca.
Right, which is probably why Pachuca was in my head instead of Pumas before.
Right. But this is a move that I think is sad for a lot of LAFC fans because Chicho has been a baller the last couple years.
Super important player for this team.
Yeah, and I have the tweet up here from Tom Bogert with the announcement, and then Matt Doyle doing the quote tweet, and he says, quote, pretty crazy from LAFC, in my opinion. Prime age number 9 on a non-DP deal who gives you elite productivity. Guys like that don't come around often. I don't understand this one. And like you said,
I co-sign exactly what that says. That seems like a weird, especially for how important he was in their MLS Cup trophy run.
Well, Chicho wasn't a DP, outperforming his contract. He wanted a new contract, and he made that pretty clear.
Wouldn't you think he kind of earned it based on the way he played?
Sure, but salary cap is gonna get you at some point, and your players play too well, you can't keep them. That's generally how it works in MLS. It's unfortunate. You would think LAFC would do what they could to give him more money while keeping him under the cap, but then you realize they do have a very, very strong roster.
Oh, didn't MLS get enough money from Apple?
Is that you want them to
rid of the whole?
That's it.
I got an idea. You want to keep the DP rule? Fine. How about this? 11 DPs. Can we just move on? Don't you think it's time? It's an honest question. I've got two questions for you. One, don't you think it's time to move on from this salary cap? We're now, how long is the Apple TV Plus deal?
10 years.
Don't you think that's enough time? You got the money. It's guaranteed. It's coming through. Apple's not going anywhere. They got billions in that weird circle building. Okay. They've got a lot. I got to buy another iPhone in a couple of months. They're going to get a couple more. Okay. Don't you think they've got the time? You could do away with the whole cap and let the teams that want to spend, and the teams that don't want to spend. Not spend. Don't you think we can do that? Second question. I don't have to wear a suit to this baby shower, do I?
Have you ever been to a baby shower in a suit? Have you ever seen anybody in a suit?
I don't have to dress formal.
No, you don't have to dress. No, you don't dress formal anyway.
But I just want to make sure if I'm going to walk in offending your family.
No, it's fine. Nice. Okay, I'm glad we.
All right, but the first question: don't you think it's time to get rid of the cap?
I don't know, because I don't have MLS's financial records in front of me to be able to make that determination. The answer feels like no, it's not. It doesn't feel like the right time.
Give me a reason why you think it's not the right time.
Because there's still teams that could struggle, right? Because
hold on, they share revenue.
They do share revenue,
so no team is failing. You can't fail. Everyone makes the same amount of money.
But
like at base, obviously you make your own commercial revenue.
Yeah, but some teams could go nuts and spend and out. This all happened to NASL. They brought in Pele, they brought in Johan Cruyff, they brought in these legends. They paid them a whole ton of money, and they just couldn't afford it, and the league could not last. So there are some teams that could still make those mistakes. So
you're worried about the teams overspending.
Yes.
But you are aware that there's probably not a reason to go absolutely crazy because you don't make that much. It's not like you can, hey, if we get in Champions League, they wouldn't get themselves into the Barcelona situation where you're like, oh, well, if we get in the Champions League, then we'll make all this money back and blah, blah. You don't have that opportunity.
Okay, so look, several people have given reasons. Somebody said you'll end up with a La Liga with the same teams winning. Look, there's several reasons.
Hold on, Mike Thomas is making some good thing. He said, yes, he's ready for it to move on, but set the cap at $35 million.
So just higher.
Yeah. Two, he said, set a $13 million floor, so you can't spend under $13 million.
Yeah.
This man has thought this through.
Mike Thomas is the best, seriously.
Number 3, get rid of roster designations. Totally don't even know what that means. Number 4, make transfer discretionary and not
DPs, stuff like that.
I do know what it means.
So then say
It's a joke. You're supposed to giggle a little
people
bit.
think that you don't know stuff, Alexis.
Let them think that. Then they get surprised when I say something smart. Right? I like to fly under the radar and also walk. Mike Thomas, number 4, said make transfers discretionary and not count against the cap. Number 5, homegrowns remain cap exempt, which I've said before. I said homegrown should never count against your cap.
Yeah, he said it, everybody.
Bro,
Alexis knows stuff.
I said 2 things. I said multiple things that I think were smart. One of which is make national team players play FIFA as only themselves, only in Greg Berhalter's system, and you'd understand that immediately. And by the way, even Greg Berhalter was like, that's a dumb idea. But I still believe it's a good one.
As far as the salary cap, it's I do think it should be raised, but to get rid of it entirely, human beings are the people managing these clubs. Human beings will make mistakes that could put the club and just the business of the club in jeopardy.
Okay, but then when you look at situations like LA Galaxy and Inter Miami, you look at teams that just want to make their teams a little bit better. Now, hold on, not spending way beyond their means. They're simply just trying to get better players in the league, and they're being punished for that. And doesn't that seem rather backwards? Wouldn't you want to thank them or congratulate them?
I'm not going to applaud them for breaking the rules that they knew existed. But yes,
the sentiment is they're trying to make their club better. They're trying to win. They're trying to get better players into this league. It makes it more exciting. That said, I mean, not that Blaze Matuidi is making anyone sign up for Apple TV Plus, but nonetheless, you're trying to get better players in. Isn't that something that we should congratulate, not something that we should admonish?
MLS has already been through this so many times. And
they ain't never been through this.
They have been through teams folding. Chivas USA, the Mutiny, all these clubs.
Those are badly run teams, and Mutiny and Fusion come from an era.
You don't think you can't have another badly run team? You need the reason.
That's not the argument I'm having. I'm not saying there are badly run teams who are propped up by this single entity system because we do nothing. It's Brian Regan's joke. If I play the whole game, I get whole snow cone. If I play half game, I get whole snow cone. Right. If I play no game, I get whole snow cone. I shouldn't play no game, I get whole snow cone. It's the same thing. You're going to get the same amount of money because you have the single entity system. So if you are insert club you're all thinking about here that barely does anything, you can sit back and just go, hey, get a couple academy players in here, get a couple guys that have been around the league for a while, let them run out. Maybe we get a good run in the playoffs. We make the same amount of money as everyone else. Not that that's a bad thing. I do think the single entity system has its merit for sure, right? It's helped keep this league alive for a long time. I'm starting to feel like maybe, especially with this Apple TV Plus deal, doesn't it feel like we're at that moment where, hey, we really don't need all this extra stuff?
I don't.
Am and GAM and TAM and all these things, they're great for when you want to build the league in a certain way. But I think now we're at the point where people understand how to build this league. It's like, yo, let them go run a little bit with this money.
And that statement right there, you just said we're at the point where people know how to run this league, and that is completely incorrect.
You don't think we have smart people running these clubs?
Yes, but there's a lot of teams. There's more teams than other leagues even have.
They're not going to get relegated. These clubs aren't going to go into administration.
but that's you don't know that. You don't. I mean, with the rules that are in place, that has prevented that from happening, which happened regularly in Major League Soccer.
I never said scrap that. I said scrap the cap. Which is a great rally call for this. And if I was...
No. We cited it. You didn't say, let's get rid of the salary cap exclusive. You were like, let's get rid of all this stuff.
I meant salary cap.
Okay. I'm just saying.
Designated player and all that. Let them spend what they want to spend. It's not going to get rid of the single entity system and all those other things. Those you could work on.
At some point, I think we can get there. Right now, I don't think we can because we've spoken to people who don't even know the rules right now, and they have jobs in Major League Soccer.
But what you're talking about are like cap and roster rules.
Yeah.
And I'm saying there's no more. Now you know everything there is to know.
And if you remove those rules, you put people at the risk of either overspending, mismanaging, and if they don't have that oversight because they don't have the experience necessary to run a club and keep it up and keep the business afloat for a long amount of time.
So then you're never going to do it because you're never going to be inspired to hire the person that has the experience and yada, 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 because you don't need it. Now, we're all in the same situation. Everyone, tomorrow, Don Garber and Tim Cook come out and say, hey, no more. Go ahead. Have fun. Forget the salary cap. Obviously, there's still single entity rules, but there's no more salary cap. Everyone's going to be at the same level. Every club is going to maybe be inspired to go find somebody that has managed a club that.
How many people do you think in the world can successfully manage a club and do this? And especially MLS will have 30 teams, 40 teams. There's
probably thousands.
I would say hundreds at most.
And is that not enough?
I don't think it's enough. No, I don't think it's enough. There's not enough people qualified.
You don't think that there's some people that do a great job of running a club in some country that maybe they were born and raised in, and they're looking for a change of pace and would love to live in America, and you don't think they'd come take that chance to come do that out here? You don't think there's enough people that are in USL that have done a great job of keeping their teams afloat with minimal commercial revenue?
USL has rules too.
I'm not saying they don't, but I'm saying they managed to manage a club with... there's no difference between managing something... There's not a huge learning curve to managing something with less rules than there are with more rules. You have to do it you just have to be a bit more pragmatic when there are no rules because there's not a lot of oversight.
When you don't have oversight, you have to take the responsibility yourself.
Yes.
To not put.
And you don't think an owner is going to be like, hey, here's how much I can afford?
I think you think people are more intelligent than they are, or people are more responsible.
People aren't as intelligent. I think you think.
I don't think there's enough. No, I'm not saying I can do it. I just don't think there's enough people to do what you're saying. But
you're saying that from no data. You're saying that without any facts whatsoever. Meanwhile, the rest of the world does it the way I'm suggesting, and they, for the most part, do it fine.
A lot of clubs fail.
Okay, what? Put on your tinfoil hat. How many clubs can you name that have failed in the last, I don't know, I'll say 10 years?
I mean, okay, let's just use examples of clubs making terrible decisions. Juventus,
haven't failed,
but
terrible decisions didn't fail.
That have affected the club
didn't
very
fail.
negatively. But even look at
didn't fail. I can name two.
Look at other
two, and that's thousands of clubs all over the world. But all of them have someone that manages them. Two that I know that have failed, and both of them still around.
Okay. Sure. I'm fine. But
so then why do you have this fear that that's all of a sudden
it's not a fear? It's not a fear.
So there's only going to be two teams left in MLS because everyone else is going to fail.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that even if one team fails, that's a very poor look on the league.
Or is it? Because does that not mean that the league was propping them up when they probably should have failed long ago? Chivas USA is, I think, a good example of a team that was so badly run, so little cared for, not by fans, obviously, I'm talking about by the front office, so little was put into it that team was propped up for years longer than it probably should have. They should have scrapped that and moved on, which they did, and look at where LAFC is now, the second team in LA, not that it's the same club.
Yeah, and now
and you don't think
they bring in another team and they give them guidelines and a lot of rules because the people getting into...
The same guidelines that clubs that have never won MLS Cup have, and they've done an incredible job of managing it. And you don't think by getting rid of the guardrails, all of a sudden they're just going to be running around. All of a sudden, this club is now way better managed. They're going to be able to. They're going to be able to succeed at a higher level.
So look, and I'm not saying get rid of the guardrails entirely. I think there's a compromise, but getting rid of everything is
get rid of the cap is what I'm saying.
Sure, I would be fine. I'm not necessarily getting rid of it, but I think raising it is the compromise because I think it's too risky, and I don't think that the people that are in place now would know how to responsibly manage every single MLS club to not put itself in danger.
It's a competitive
without
sport.
The rules.
It's a competitive sport, though. If you're stopping someone from like an Inter Miami or LA Galaxy who have been caught doing it, which is the only reason I'm bringing them up, if you're stopping one of them from going out and getting a Pavone or Matuidi or whoever you want and paying them the wage that they feel they deserve or their agents have been able to negotiate, then what you're saying is, no, we don't want you to be too good. And if you're saying, I don't want that to happen because God forbid one of these teams that don't know how to manage themselves, it's like, bro, you need to get your game up.